Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into the JBR's YouTube channel. Today we've got some simple beading. We've got a keychain example as well as a bracelet example, and everything that sort of came in the kit. Beads, clips, and then sort of gimp cord, as it's often called. Alright, so with our cord, we're going to take sort of 3 strands, fold them in half and tie a knot. Every time there's sort of an important knot, I'll slow down the video and sort of zoom into that area, and then everything else, if it's just sort of repeating things that we've already done, it's going to sort of skip through it a bit faster. So here we can see where it's slowed down to tie just a basic knot, and we just folded the cord in half, tied the knot, pulled it tight, and we can get started. So separating our beads into patterns is a good idea. As you get more experience, you've tried a few of these, you can certainly change your pattern as much as you want. You can have it go intricate. You know, you could take this next level and start with smaller cord and little seed beads and go anywhere you want with these sort of beautiful patterns. To start though, we're going to put 1 bead on each cord, and when we talk about sort of expanding and reducing, when we expand, we put more beads on per cord, and then as we condense, we put several cords through 1 bead. And we're going to sort of repeat this pattern of expanding and condensing and expanding and condensing to sort of make a pattern with our overall bracelet or keychain or necklace or whatever it happens to be. So as you see here, we've put on 2 beads on each individual cord, and then we put 2 cords through the green one and then split it again. And when we continue this pattern on each of the 6 cords, we start to get more of like an oval shape to our overall keychain when it's done. Now we've gone back to sort of 1 pink bead, and we follow this pattern for the other 6 pieces of cord, or I guess other 4 pieces of cord. You'll notice for the gold, we're actually putting 3 pieces of cord into it. So now it sort of brings the other pieces together, and they're sort of our oval shape. It is a good idea to sort of work with these flat. When I like to do these kind of bracelets, I'll tape the knotted end right to the table, and that way it's not moving around as I'm trying to pull things tight or keep other things flat. Put more of the cords through, and we're condensing it back into just 2 sort of final strands. We'll put several beads on each of these to make new patterns. Now it's fun if you want to take these patterns and actually turn them into shapes or animal designs. You know, you can make little iguanas and things like that out of them, little fish, and it's about planning out your colors and how you're going to sort of tie your beads on. Here at the end, we want this to sort of dangle, so we're putting the same color beads onto 1 strand and then tying a knot on the last bead to keep them all in place. Alright, so this style of keychain and sort of tying them up, all of your cord goes through the bead in a single direction. So they all sort of come from, if you can think of it as, you know, our cord is at the top, it goes through the top of the bead and comes out the bottom of the bead. And we continue that pattern depending on how many beads are in between or which cord goes through which bead is how we sort of change our pattern. On the next one for the bracelet, we're going to be doing a different type of tie where each end of the cord goes through the top and the bottom of the bead. So they sort of crisscross inside the bead, and that's how we sort of tie them together. I'll show you what we mean in just a moment. Alright, we've got a close-up here for you on sort of the last bead of the last strand, and that's where we tie a knot that includes the bead. The knot goes around the bead, the outside of it, and then we tie another knot at the end of the bead where it's just including the cord. And this stops any sort of slippage or them falling off, and that keeps all of the beads sort of tight to our keychain. Here is a double knot, sort of for extra security. Ta-da! There you go, fun little keychain. Now really you could put a key on the end of each one, and that way you knew which key was which. I guess that's for people with very large pockets. Step 2, the bracelet. This time we're looping on one piece of cord, so it now has sort of 2 strands at the end. We tie it into a basic knot. Now there's a lot of other knots that you could do. This is sort of just the easiest one to get you started. We could do an entire video just on knots alone. But here we're just concerned about making sure you get sort of at least 2 different ideas or 2 different concepts here. So we start off by both pieces of cord going through the single bead, and in a moment we'll start to go through where we crisscross an individual bead. So you'll notice the cord goes in one side, and then here it goes in the opposite direction. So when you pull it tight, the bead is trapped within the cord. So that's sort of looped or knotted on. So in this case, we've got 2 beads, and then you can see the end there from the first cord going in one side, and now we've got the second piece of cord crossing through both beads and then being pulled tight. This is how we can expand the beads from 1 bead to now 2, and this is where we can change our shape. So Jessica's going to be doing sort of a pattern that goes sort of 1 bead, 2 bead, 1 bead, 2 bead, and having fun with the colors that go on it, keeping it tight. This is also where I'd like to, because the clip is on there, you could clip the end to the top of a table or tape it back on so it doesn't sort of move around and such. I also like to put my beads in a container so they don't roll all over the floor. Or one of my cats jumps on the table and starts playing with them. It's always a mess. So it doesn't take too long for this bracelet to get done. This is also a really popular style if you are doing things like frogs or birds or whatnot, any type of sort of shape you'd like. So there we go. You pull it snug. You get an idea of how wide you want the bracelet to be. You want to make sure it's not cutting off circulation. But seriously, what you want to try and do is make sure you have an idea of the length before you get started. So perhaps take a look at another bracelet that you have. Maybe give your wrist a quick measurement, or to the person you're giving it to. That way you know it's going to fit. Sometimes when you tie the final knot, you end up with that little bit extra length that you didn't need. So, accounting for those things before you do it. Having a couple of tries under your belt too, doing a couple of bracelets. In the kits, you get more than enough material. You get several strands of cord, as well as, a good sized bag of beads. Okay, so when I finished up this video, I realized that it really needed just one more example. So I hadn't actually planned to do it, but here you go. There's an extra one here. We're doing the lizard keychain. I talked about it several times in the last videos about how doing animal ones are really cool, and I decided just to go for it. So here we are. So we want to make sure that we go row by row. I'm using my favorite colors to do the lizard. I started off with a blue one, and as I want sort of a blue stripe down the center, I want to have yellow on one side, a blue bead, and then another yellow bead. And you can see here as we put them through, the 2 pink ones are going to be suggestive of his eyeballs, and then 2 in the center. I didn't get to put a blue one in because that would have been 5. So I went 1, 3, 4 beads, 4 beads, and now I've gone back to 3 beads to be sort of like the neck. So the row of yellow beads is kind of the creature's forehead, and now we're getting into the stripes. The next row of beads has 2 blue in the middle, so 1 yellow on the perimeter. Now we're getting right into arms. Yay. You'll notice that I've put on 3 red beads and 3 metallic red beads. So the metallic red beads are going to be the hands. So what we do is we fish only the cord back through the primary red ones. That lets the metallic 3 just sort of float around in the loop. And when you pull the loop snug, they sort of spread apart and turn into the fingers of our lizard. They sort of have that reptile-like end to them. You'll see in just a second as I pull the cord tight and fish it all through. You do want to try and have these cords as tight as possible or as snug as possible to get them to look their best. And that's why it works well taping it to the table. It also makes it nice and flat. Here I go right back into my patterns where the two cords sort of crisscross between the beads on the inside of them. You can see that my lizard's getting a bit fatter here. This is going to be the main part of the body. And you can always double them up like I've done here. So I'm actually into a yellow bead, a blue bead, a silver bead, blue bead, yellow bead. And that's going to be my pattern for a little bit. And truth be known here, I was actually running out of blue beads at this point, so I have to switch my pattern up pretty soon. When I was doing this one, I also ran out of red feet, so I had to go to sort of pink for that. That was actually one short, believe it or not. Cool. Now, sometimes on complicated ones, I've actually done these sort of patterns on graph paper, where I've colored in where I want my beads to get the pattern to look just right. You can find all sorts of patterns online of things like bumblebees and dragonflies and all sorts of different things. You can just let your imagination go wild with these, and they're fun little things to sell as fundraisers to give to other people, and they're not all that expensive. They're not sort of time consuming. It's something you could do while watching TV. So it's a great little activity. I hope you have fun. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you coming by. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you like this content at all. You can always go to our Facebook page and you can request other videos. I've got another 20 or so still in the queue. Every time we do one, another one pops up. But I'm definitely open to requests. So thanks for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day.